Welcome. My name is Debbie and this is Pouring My Art Out for the Lord. And I'm updating and expanding and refreshing things in my coffee shop still. So this week I thought I would work on something that I had offered about a year ago. It was October 2024. And it was a set of, I called them chunky autumn clusters. And I had some chunky autumn images here: basket of apples, a cowboy boot with some sunflowers, an owl, squirrel, pumpkins, of course, truck, fox, piles of leaves and all that kind of stuff. And then I had background cluster, just torn little pieces of interesting paper. And then I had a bunch of phrases and little sayings on labels. So I was working on, at the time, a journal called the Walk of Faith Journal. And this was one of our Inspired Junk Journaler projects. So it was like a 3-month project. So you can see it's quite a chunky journal. And I wanted some little accents for there. So this is what, actually that is not one of them. It looks like it is, but it's not. So let me see here. Oh, I thought there was some right at the beginning here. I guess it's a little ways in before I started making these. Okay, so here's one with the bird and a torn piece of paper there, and praise God from whom all blessings flow. Here's another one with the crow on a pile of leaves and then some background text there: give thanks to the Lord for he is good. Another one, here's a fox: autumn teaches us the beauty of letting go. The scrap of the background. So they were just kind of little easy 3-piece chunky clusters, like they're quite a good size. Friends and family gather here. So I did a bunch of them and I really enjoyed them. They were super easy to put together and they were just really effective, you know, just really fun images. And there's the squirrel, autumn blessings. So they're throughout this journal here. So I took a look at it, and when I was making these clusters, these were all vintage images here that I sourced from different places. There's dictionary and old hymnals, and here's Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, if you're familiar with that, a scrap of a postcard, advertisements, all that kind of stuff. But these images I used AI to create. So I created the images, cleaned them up, put borders around them. I think toned down a lot of the colors. Sometimes AI is too bright for me, so I toned down all of the images, and I was really happy with how they turned out. But I thought what I would do is kind of take this is sort of a modern way of making these images, and I thought I would try my hand at using just vintage images instead. So again, I had some vintage scraps here. I made 2 new pages of that, and I made all new vintage clusters. So this is just a draft quality here, so I can't really, I'll show you the images in a second, but so I took vintage images and I assembled 3 or 4 together and then made these are already clusters, but then you put them on top of here and then they create clusters, and all new labels here, all new scraps of paper. So that was the 2. So my original kit was 4 pages. I added another 4 pages. So it's like vintage versus modern kind of thing. So here's the new vintage images. So here's the scraps. Here's some of the sayings. So every harvest sings his faithfulness, harvest grace, golden promises. As trees surrender, so must we. The Lord of harvest never leaves. A whole bunch of those. And here's another page, basically the same thing, all different images. There's a little bit of music page. God's promises never fade. Gather blessings, all new sayings. So I made 2 pages of these. These ones are a little bit more maybe vibrant too. These ones were a little bit more neutral, and I added some more, a little bit more color in these ones. So it gives us a little bit of contrast. And of course you can use more than one scrap in a cluster. I just kept it easy the last time and just used one scrap. And then here's my vintage images. So a couple of pages of these. So I just combined all different sorts of, you know, a log and some autumn leaves and just resized and twirled around and all that kind of stuff. Here's a cinnamon stick and a pear, an owl and a pumpkin. There's a little squirrel on a maple seed. Some of them I put like a little black and white image in with the flowers and the pumpkin. I thought that was cute. I like this log. I used that a couple of times. And here's another page. So just some really fun vintage looking images. And these ones maybe are a little bit more colorful as well. Kind of in a more colorful mood than when I was last year. So there is 4 new pages for the kit. So I showed you a few of the ones that I had made previously. I'm going to get these cut out and then I'm going to show you how I put these together. I'll link my original video because I talk about fussy cutting. I talk about how to, these ones I just tear out, but I don't tear them out. You know, I don't tear along every single little little indentation that is in the paper. That would drive me crazy. So I just kind of make sure the white is gone. If there's a little bit of white, that's okay because I'm going to be inking them too. But you don't have to tear right along the lines. See how I'm not doing it right on the lines? You know, just sort of tear it here and there, take short little tear strokes, and then you have a really, you know, torn looking image, but it wasn't, you know, super painful to try to tear or cut right along those lines. And then if you want to ink a little bit on that white, it makes the white go away. So that's how easy it is to get these ones out. So I'm going to tear out the rest of these. I'm going to ink or cut out my labels, and I'm going to fussy cut my images here. And what I really like to do for fussy cutting is use my Tim Holtz. I think these were his original scissors. They're kind of spongy here, so they're a little bit easier on your hands. And they have a, like kind of a serration, it's a serrated edge. So as you're cutting, it doesn't, you know, if you're using scissors, sometimes it'll slip and you kind of go too far. These ones kind of almost go like tiny little cut by tiny little cut. You can still do it quite quickly, but I think I show these in my original one. So like, see, when you're cutting in here, sometimes that's hard to do with a normal pair of scissors, but these, you just have so much control. I didn't think a pair of scissors would make that much difference, but these are really great scissors. They're a little pricier than a normal pair of scissors, but I've had them for a few years now and I just love them. I don't use them for everything. If I'm just cutting out labels and stuff, I don't worry about it. But for this kind of stuff, and even for, you know, like circles and stuff, you just have a ton more control. So if you're in the market for some new scissors, I highly recommend these ones. So I'll get everything cut out and then I'll show you how I put a few of these together. All right, everything is cut out and inked, and I'm about to make a few little chunky clusters. So these are really, really quick. You of course could make them, you know, any way that you like. You could use more than one piece of backing paper or whatever on them, and use you know, one of these. You could make them smaller. You could print them two to a page so that they're smaller. But what I want to do is just kind of do really simple chunky cluster. Actually, I like the way that one looks, so I think I'm going to put that together. So just kind of, this is just a really fun project that you can just do, you know, while you're relaxing one afternoon. It doesn't take a lot of brain work. with this kit, everything is all in one place, so you don't have to go searching for images or coordinating paper or anything like that. It's nice sometimes just to have a nice easy project. And when I designed this kit, I initially was going to use, I initially just wanted some fussy cuts for my journal. And then I decided to make clusters instead, but you could use, you know, just grab the fussy cuts and use those in your journals as well. So that's another option for you. I often will sew my clusters as well. So you can put a little stitch down there just for some extra, little interest. I just wanted to read this sentiment and see, do I like what that says there? The sun sets, but his light endures. So super simple, easy. Let's just see in our book here, have some place that's not, I think that looks really cute. So let's just make a couple more. And you know, like really, these kind of clusters, you can just sort of do anything and they look good. You can tear up the clusters a little bit more, like the backing pages. They don't have to be this large. I don't mind that, but that is too big. So let's just get a little piece of this. Lots of times I like to make smaller clusters too, but I thought this is, the chunky clusters are just such a quick way to do things. I want that autumn color to still show there. So I'm just kind of putting it together how I want it, and then I'm just sort of peeling back the back and putting a little bit of glue on there just so that everything sticks together. You don't have to glue every square inch when you're making these sorts of things, just as long as they're sort of tacked on, that's good. So there's that one, and let's see. Fall reminds us he never fails. I think that's a good saying for there. Fill up my glue here. So just like that. So I'm going to continue just making a few clusters. I'll rip things up and do whatever, and I'll just show you what I came up with at the end. Here's my lovely pile of finished clusters, and really they don't take any time at all because they're just chunky. Most of them I did use 2 pieces of background paper. The first ones I did last year, I only used 1, but this time I felt like using 2, so I used 2. I did end up printing another page of background paper, one of the original ones. So I have that in a few of these as well. I think they turned out really cute. So those will adorn any of your fall journals just beautifully. This one could even be used like a tuck, like glue it on, you know, 3 sides, and you could use it as a little tuck spot. This one can as well. Nice. Well, a bunch of them actually could. This one would be good for a tuck spot too, but yeah. So in my journal here, a lot of my pages are already decorated, but you know, you could have, I think they would just be lovely. This was one of them from last time I did it. You know, really easy, quick way to embellish your pages, because they're just sweet, easy to do. Yeah. So let me know what you think of this project. Let me know if you would like me to maybe make these for some other seasons. It's a little bit easier for autumn because autumn colors are really sort of standard, I guess. You know, there's always, it's different tones, but there's always, you know, the lovely oranges and reds and yellows. But for winter, you know, I think of blues and whites and silver and that sort of thing. But they can, you know, you can go off on different ways for winter, spring, and summer. But let me know if that might be of interest to you, to make a chunky cluster seasonal pack, maybe with some for each season. So lots of luscious decorating here for your fall journals. So give that a try if you're interested. The link is below, and blessings. We'll see you soon.